Alright, so today we're going to talk about some pretty unusual pliers and compare a couple different brands here, but in essence they're the same plier. So this is Harbor Freight's Icon, what they call a parrot nose plier, and it doesn't take a great deal of imagination to see it kind of looks like a parrot's beak. What these tools do, and this is basically a copy of the KNIPEX Raptor, which is in the box, and I'll get to that in a second. But what they basically do, they're smooth-jawed pliers, both of them are, and they wrap around and make contact on three sides of a nut or bolt head. So as opposed to a conventional pair of pliers or a crescent wrench or something like that that contacts the opposite sides, this actually hits on three. So if I go, and that's with it open a little, or not quite far enough here, let's see. Yeah, I like that better. So see how it cradles the corner here and gets these two sides, the away sides, if you will, of that nut, and then you get some nice torque on this end. So I'm hardly squeezing that, but it's got a really good grip. That's not coming loose. Now granted, this is not a tight, locked nut, but it's still for that kind of situation. So if you have something that's really hard to turn, if you have something that's rusted and cruddy and you just can't get it off with a regular knife, even if you strip something. So if I go down smaller and I go against the shaft, a little bit bigger than that. And there we go. Nope, not quite. Get used to it. There we go. So there you can see getting that same grip on the smooth shaft of the bolt. So if this head was stripped, if it was rusted and really hard to turn, you're going to be able to lock onto this and get a really good grip. So even if it's stripped. So that is an interesting design. And that leads me to KNIPEX. So this was actually my son's, the Icon. And I just recently got this guy here, because when he first got his, it's like, why would I want one of those? It looks kind of odd. So KNIPEX calls theirs a Raptor, and not a parrot head, or parrot nose, sorry. It's not a Jimmy Buffett reference. The Icons are parrot nose, and the KNIPEX is a raptor, like the dinosaur. So you can kind of get that if you look at it. It is, in essence, the same tool with some slight differences. So if you listen to Harbor Freight's website, they'll tell you it's the same steel. I don't buy that. I think the KNIPEX is a higher grade steel, and for that reason it's not as thick. I don't know if you can tell that or not. The Harbor Freight is a little heavier, a little more steel involved there. Doesn't mean it's not a good tool, but it is bulkier and a little heavier. So the push buttons you have here, as with other stuff we've seen, they both work pretty well. I think we have 15 settings on the KNIPEX and 14 on the Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight has a bigger button. It's a little easier to push in. I mean, they're both fine, but maybe a little bit easier to push in. So that's pretty nice. They're both good tools. If you go all the way open, Harbor Freight is just a hair bigger. I think it's 1/8 of an inch, if I read right. So it has a little bit bigger jaw. They do have different grips on them as well. The KNIPEX comes with its standard, very thin, not rough, but has a little bit of a grip to it. Kind of grip, where the Harbor Freight one is thicker, it's more rubbery. You can still get a good grip with it. It helps if you're squeezing hard. It keeps it from hurting you, but it slides a little bit more than the Raptor does. So personal preference, whatever it's worth. Now, on some of the other tools we've looked at, the KNIPEX comes, or I'm sorry, the KNIPEX comes with a variety of different sizes. Like when we compared the Pliers wrenches of these two, you could only get the 10-inch in the Icon, but the KNIPEX had a variety of different sizes. I don't think that's the case with this guy. This guy only comes in the 10-inch, to the best of my knowledge. And I don't know if I read the model number or not. It's 8741-250. And the 250 here at the end, the way KNIPEX does that is that's how many millimeters it is. So 250 millimeters is roughly 10 inches. But whenever you see their model numbers, you might see a 150 or various different numbers at the end. That's going to be how long it is. So basically, both good tools. As we mentioned in the Pliers wrench review, I kind of like the warranty better with Icon, just because I've got a couple different Harbor Freights around, and if I break it, I could take it there. They'd give me a new one. The KNIPEX is going to be more involved in that, and you might have to have your receipt, which, you know, I don't know about you guys, but if I bought a tool a couple years ago, I'm not going to have the receipt for it. So that's an issue. Although that said, I think you're much more likely to break the Icon than you are the KNIPEX. So if it's a big deal to you, that's a consideration. The price, obviously, the original is going to be more expensive. So Icons, I think this guy runs $22, and the KNIPEX is like 37-ish. It depends. You get them online, you can get various different prices. So 50% more for a little bit better quality, a little bit lighter, but that's not saying that the Icon's not a good tool for the occasional user. I mean, if you're a professional mechanic, it might be different. If you're somebody putting around like me, they're both good tools. But I would probably lean toward the KNIPEX just because I think it's a little bit better quality, but they're both good tools. So anyway, both interesting tools, both good for any time you have a nut or bolt that's frozen up. Good to get a grip on. So highly recommend them both. Take your pick.